Audio's okay this time. It wasn't working so well on the so-called computer. So we jumped on here again. Welcome. Let me know if audio's okay. And the lighting's not the best for this camera, but we are trying our best here. So anyways, Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate. Hope everybody's doing well. Your questions are welcome at any point in time. I know I was trying to explain the video got chopped. It wasn't working so well. So I wanted to talk about franchise. I was hoping maybe we could get somebody in on the franchise a little bit that knows anything or is doing one or thought about doing one. Because when I first started out, we didn't have, when I started back in 06, we didn't really have franchise. We might have been Precision, only one I vaguely heard about. And that was when I, traveled to Chicago. And I was locked up in a hotel, and I remember I checked the old phone book, and that's kind of actually where I got the same day service. Mr. Jerry, hello. I hope you're doing well on this Friday evening. What's the weather like? We got a bunch of snow, so we got about 3 or 4 inches of snow. Which ain't a lot for Michiganders, but it threw a wrench in the system. So I'm gonna play a little bit of, oh sweet, Rob says audio's good, because I just did it a few minutes ago and audio wasn't good. I couldn't get the, it's right next to me, I couldn't get the mic to work, unfortunately. So I'm back to the old school. I said, all right, I'll just throw the phone up here. But I had to pull out the old phone. And I guess this never crossed my mind until I was listening to this. And I'm gonna play here in a few minutes about thinking about some of the private, I think it's the private sector, they can explain it better than I can, about moving in, and this is HVAC, but I'm thinking, well, this could be the same kind of deal with garage doors, because it's kind of all in the same neck of the woods, you know what I'm saying? And if some of this private stuff's moving in, it's kind of taken away from, the small mom and pop shops or businesses or garage door businesses. So anyways, it was flooding rain here, around 4 inches of rain. Man, that makes for a soggy backyard, that's for sure. So let me see if I can play this. This phone's uploading still, so it's gonna be like, it's got everything under the sun under it right now. That's if I didn't, all right, let's see if you can let me know if you can hear this too.
And any kind of repairs. This TikToker, I got permission to share her video, and her husband work with HVACs, your air conditioning units. And her business has been greatly affected by private equity.
The last 6 months, I have seen a very alarming drop in the amount of revenue my company produces. I believe the reason for that is because private equity has started to come into the trades business. So your plumbers, your electricians, your HVAC contractors. Private equity has started buying up home services companies, so much so that people that we used to have really strong relationships with, other business owners, are selling their businesses over to these private equity firms because they can pay top dollar, and they go and they retire. My husband and I went to a conference in September of last year. We were expecting to show up and receive great training on how to run our business. We realized very quickly that it was a mingling pot for private equity to come in and purchase up businesses from owners who were struggling. We had a conversation with a gentleman while we were there, and he basically said that the reason why private equity is coming so far down into Wall Street to Main Street is because COVID taught them that the brick and mortar sales model is too fragile. And so what they want to do is they want to turn each of our individual homes into their new sales floors. Why does this matter? Because just like the housing market, when private equity reaches its hand into anything, the money that they bring into the system super inflates sort of the entire economic process of that system. What I am saying to you right now is that if somebody does not get a hold of this private equity buying out of these small Main Street companies, in 10 years, HVAC will be a luxury that most people will not be able to afford.
Slowly but surely, it seems.
It's interesting. It made me really think about the whole franchise and stuff like that, and what the future could hold for some of these young bucks is what I call them. So what's her company name? I don't know what her company name is for the HVAC. This one was on. It says American. It's American Dream stolen by corporations. And I listen to it because I do a lot of the I do a lot of the real estate, and I was thinking, when it comes to the real estate, you know a lot of like BlackRock and everything and stuff like that. They're coming into some of this stuff, and I have no doubt about that. And so it just makes me think about, it ain't going to be something that's real fast, but it's something to keep on the horizon. Because, does anybody have precision garage door? Is that anybody's competition? Is that anybody know about them? They're close, they're local. We don't have one around here. I've been hearing of this new one called ProLift. We do have a ProLift one it's in the next city over. It's about 20-30 minutes away from the shop. And so it makes me wonder, and has anybody thought about entertaining it, or has anybody actually done the franchise or worked for a franchise of the garage door industry? I think that would be interesting. So I see Total Tech. He says I do HVAC. Do you run your own business in HVAC? Are you a worker in HVAC? It can be a little bit open on that. But no, I was kind of curious. When I heard that, I started thinking about the franchise. And I'd love to know too what it cost. For to be a part of it would be great, because I think there's some beauty into it where you're kind of established, you're set up. But I can see where you might not have so much control. You gotta go with the uniforms. You gotta have the right trucks. You got a certain probably year, make, and model of trucks. I could see them kind of dictating a lot of that stuff, and then if they're eating up so much of your profit, that would be kind of crummy. So it's just something that was crossing my mind, and I thought somebody out there I know has worked for him or knows more information about it than I do. So anywho, let's see. What is? I think Jerry asked that. So it's your Jerry. I see it was your mother's birthday today. Well, that's just stinking awesome. You know what's really weird? My birthday's tomorrow. I'm gonna be 41. How time flies, man. I tell you what. It's so hard not working on the computer, doing it off the phone, especially when you got the computer. I couldn't get the mic to work. I'm so bummed. I'm trying to talk, but in a church, I'm reading off the computer. Let's see here. It says, but in a church, it says the law wouldn't let the pastor feed the poor. Oh, you can get political. I don't care. I don't, so I want to put this into context. I was just listening to a guy. He's actually a vet. He was in, I forget which one he was in, the Vietnam. Or I'm sorry, the Iraq. He wasn't in Iraq. That was another guy. I was watching him, and he was in the Iraq War. And he was saying that how the churches won't, they won't probably talk about this because they'll lose their tax advantages, right? Their tax discount, basically. If they talk about it, they can lose that. And so I don't know which ones do have the tax advantages. See, it's kind of like, what's really weird is that, I'm not saying all of them, but everything's controlled by the government. People just don't know that. So these churches can only somewhat preach certain things because, like, isn't it always interesting that a church can only, basically run for one day of the year or one day of the week, on Sunday? And that blows my mind. I mean, they got nice buildings. I mean, some of them are really decked out. And obviously, they need the people's money. They need that tax discount. I'm not saying all. I don't know that for a fact. But I believe that realistically we need the churches to really take over, in a sense. The government shouldn't even be a part of it, especially for like food stamps and stuff like that. People should have to go to churches because there's people at church, including myself, that would have work for these people. That's come here and fix my plumbing if you're a plumber. Come, fix the roof. Come fix so many things. Everything under the sun. You know what I mean? And people would they would know after a certain amount of time. Let's just call him Johnny. Say Johnny's not trying. I've offered Johnny to come work. This is what I was willing to pay him. And Johnny doesn't want to work. You know what I mean? But there's people out there that can just go to the government, right? And they can get total handouts. And instead of like what my dad told me one time, he said, when they ran in hard times, his dad got back hurt, whatever, my grandpa, he said they give you a box, with powdered milk, maybe a little bit of lettuce, a couple tomatoes or something. And that was your food stamps back in the day. Well, now it comes on a credit card, right? Johnny better get back to work, that's right. So now they give you a card, right? And I've been in this situation where I've been in line and I've watched people, buying popcorn, buying soda, buying chips. I mean, buying some really nice stuff. And I'm the guy back there with the blue collar kind of going, boy, I wish I could buy some of that stuff, on a basically a free card. And then I got some that I know through the grapevines of members of a family member that they get it, right? And they will typically, they will sell it, right? They'll give it to somebody, say, hey, look, there's, $600 on here, give me $500 cash and you can use it and you're getting $100 extra in value to go use it basically. But see, if you had people, if you brung that down, let's say to the church or whatever, and that would get managed so much better. You know what I mean? Because people are not stupid. People would be smart and they would realize that, they're going to call you out for being lazy, not showing up, not being on time. Because I think we're in a generically, we're all good people, right? If you're a Christian, if you're whatever you believe in, we typically, we want everybody to eat. We want everybody to have a home, somewhere that's safe to sleep for the night. But there's just too many handouts. That's a problem. And that's the problem within the business too, is that you can run into this where, for I've had this personally, is that you can't, the people, there's just not enough. And then you need the people that are almost I don't want to call them like, everybody's important, right? Even a janitor is important. You know what I mean? But somebody that's in a lower tier, let's just say, you need them to move up, right? And if they're getting a handout or stuff like that, we need the layers. We don't have the layers. We have kind of either it's poor, hardly middle class anymore, or you got somewhat of the rich of like whatever it is, 1%, 10%, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a huge gap. Well, that gap is, doesn't help when you're fighting Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam has very deep pockets. I know people to this day that they will not do any better. They will not do any better. They'll just keep living off the system, and they'll make just enough so they don't have to get off the system. And that's a real shame, Oh, Jerry says, our friend's Irish decided to make his own Chick-fil-A, a restaurant. Ooh, nice. He built a pre-existing restaurant. He just owns the building. but it is working. Nice. That's awesome, man. Like I said, it's nice. It's very nice if you can be the landlord and not have to deal with all the politics of the stuff, all the business in and out kind of stuff. It works out really nice, actually. Let me clear this out so I can keep an eye on this. Perfect. Also, I wanted to share, I was talking about one night about the marker. Mr. Rich, he actually, he's got one that he gets from Menards. It's actually cheaper. But this is a Sharpie. And this thing is a mean streak. And I kind of wanted to explain. Oh, my cat broke on this one a little bit. But this is what it is. It's really, I don't know if it's going to do it, but it's goopy. And this is what I use on garage door springs. And it just, you twist the end. It comes out. Stays somewhat clean. I see I think Mr. Rich just emailed me, honestly. So, how is Uncle Sam's pocket so big? Neat. That is a neat Sharpie, man. I tell you, I was really excited when I found this. It says it's white. Because it's the one I found it sticks. And if you're in a low visibility for doing garage door springs, you got to wind them. It worked really good. Thank you for all your videos. What's up, Mr. I'm going to say Patrick because that's about what I can pronounce correctly. So come on, Mr. Patrick. Got any questions? You in the game? You just thinking about getting in the game? Think about listening to Uncle Dave's advice and saying, oh, heck no, I'm out. Throw some questions up, bud. That's what I'm here for. Even got the red genie cup today. Actually, I did both. Bam. Because in case I run out of water. But that's awesome. I'm glad you like the videos. Like I said, but I typically, when I jump on for the lives, I don't have a lot of content built for it. Sometimes I start off with it. I try to answer questions and stuff like that. People email me. So that's just kind of over and out of the way so I don't waste people's time. And otherwise I jump on here and I love reading the guys' comments. It can be, it can be from pickup trucks. It can be from service vehicles. It can be from tools. It can be anything. I mean, Jerry just brought up something, about the church. That's fine. I think I have no problem with it. I'll tell you my opinion, and he has his opinion, which he's totally entitled to. I just feel like the older I get, the more wisdom, and it's kind of heartbreaking to know how much stuff is controlled by the G-man, we'll call him. I don't want to say it too many times. I might get whoosh, you might see the men in black come in and take me away. You know what I mean? Like Kennedy, and I don't want that. But it's when you start looking at it, at the school systems, you look at the churches. How we got blocked when we had the cough syndrome. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Ooh, he says, I'm from Las Vegas. Vegas, man. Only been there once. And you should tell me, how's Vegas? I was just listening to two people today that were saying Vegas is the good indicator of how the economy's doing. Talk to the cab drivers, which I'm not saying you obviously drive around with a cab driver and stuff like that. But I heard it twice on two different videos, and they were talking about, Vegas is a good indicator of what's going on with the economy. Is it busy? Is it slow? Is it hopping? I remember when I went there, and they called them the flickers or something like that, I think. And I was like, I don't know what they are talking about. Oh, they got the cards. So finally I walked the strip. We were in a hotel. I forget which one. It was kind of a little bit older one. And you go out there and they got the, I don't know, I guess they're prostitutes. I guess they're on cards, and there's people that flick cards, and they'll give them to you, and you can call up this number and all this other stuff. Pretty crazy. I remember there was a kid in front of me. It was kind of funny. he went to reach out for one. You know, of course, it's late, midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, or something. And the one guy was like, no, 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 like, no, no, no. Well, the kid, I mean, they're littered everywhere. And the kid, I mean, just in one swoop, he reaches to the ground, he picks one up, and he looks right at the guy and smiles, kind of goes like, I got one. You know what I mean? And the guy just kind of looked at him and was like, touche, touche. But I didn't give it to you. You picked it up off the ground. And, and I assume, obviously, people get them because they look at them and go, oh, no way. Next. If you're coming up to Michigan, where are you going in Michigan? What city or a close city? You don't have to give me the exact city if you don't want. What's up? What's up, Jerry? The IBF might barge in. Spelled backwards. Oh, good one, Jerry. Good one. I like that. That's awesome. What's up, Mr. Mark? I hope you're doing good. Las Vegas. He says, I love Las Vegas. It is a cool place. I'd like to check it out more. I need somebody that's like from there to like help me like explore and just, you know, you need to really spend some time there, like spend some days. You know, I'd like to go to some of the shows and stuff like that if they had any. I wish I was alive. Or well, yeah, because Elvis, when did Elvis pass? 77, 74? Wasn't quite alive yet, but man, would have been a time to be back then and go to some of his shows or just that aura, you know, anything Johnny Cash maybe. I mean, just, man, that'd been cool. You know what I mean? I just feel like that was kind of his prime back then, you know? I don't know if now all I hear now is Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. So what's Mr. Rob say? Wouldn't franchise be somewhat beneficial for smaller business because franchises would need to change more with all the overhead they have? I don't know. Would franchise be somewhat beneficial for a small business? I don't know. I know one company that's about an hour away in a bigger city. They ended up buying the company, more or less, from what I was told, was because they knew how many stickers were distributed across that city from that company. And so they were buying more or less that advertising, all those stickers out there. I don't know for sure if the guy had a count of how many stickers that he put on doors, but I remember that was kind of a key thing for them, that they were interested in. And I'm sure there's some upfront costs. I mean, it's kind of, you know how it is, not all the people, I don't know anybody really. I know some, like a friend's parents do it, but not a close friend. But you think about it, it's like, you know, there's some upfront money. And, you know, I bet they have a certain, like, you know, you can't be driving a 84, Ford pickup truck and stuff like that. They probably got certain standards you got to do. So there might be some money up front. Has anybody heard of the Pro Lift one though? That's one that we have that I know is a franchise that's kind of newer that I know of, but and I don't know what that one guy's doing. Who's that guy that everybody talks about? Is it the A1 guy or something? But he seems like a marketing dude. He reminds me of like the Mr. Pillow guy. You know what I mean? He's just always, we use this new software. It's made us millions. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just not a huge gambler, so most of the attractions don't suit me. I don't do the whole casino. I just like the entertainment. I like the entertainment. You know what I mean? I'd like to see a good show, the waterfalls or whatever, something spraying water, whatever, you know what I mean? Just something that's, wow, something unique. I love people watching. You can sit me in a corner and you give me a bucket of popcorn and some soda, and I could sit there for quite a while, and just watch people, and go, oh, that one's crazy, Says the door business is very busy for new construction. Ah, awesome. But as far as service calls, it's very diluted market. A whole bunch of companies and small city. Oh, wow. Okay, so Hudsonville area. Oh, nice. Nice. Dang, man. You come to the old Hudsonville area. Nice. That's a really nice place, actually. I'm surprised. You know, I keep wondering if the new construction is gonna, if it's gonna be like the kind of like the '08, you know, where we're not seeing it yet. But man, I just keep thinking these people got to be running out of some capital to some degree with these higher interest rates and some of this commercial loan debt that's got to be renewed. Because most of that stuff doesn't, you know, for us small guys, residential and stuff, it's, you know, like a 30-year fix. Well, for that stuff, it's more like a 5-year or less, and stuff has to be renewed. And I just go, man, look at the interest rates. It just seems like, I don't know, because there was a place, I don't know when that was. I don't think it was the '08. It was a little bit later. But we went to Arizona. There was a whole subdivision, huge subdivision, that I remember it ended up, they weren't developing anymore. They were done. There was just houses that were framed, and you know, it was just like they just up and left. Now it's kicked back off and re-boomed itself, and it's all built now. But reaching out to garage door companies to see if they were hiring out there before I make the big move. Let's see. So Hudsonville. So the big thing is, so Patrick, do you have any experience? Do you, you know, are you running your own company? Are you just working for somebody? Or you're just totally green? You're a greenhorn is what I call it. Those are some questions that I'd have, because, yeah, those are some questions I'd have. What's rainy tomorrow? Sunday is clear. Yeah, we're supposedly, I think we're under a winter advisory until 3 a.m. And then, man, we hit like 50 something coming soon. Like, I think tomorrow's a little bit above freezing, like 36, maybe 40 on the high end, 37. And then it's like Sunday's looking good, like we're going in the right direction. Monday looks great. I think we're up in the upper 40s, maybe 50s. And hopefully we're done. Hopefully we're done with this winter. I forgot to check. I was gonna check at the shop. I was gonna see if our plow guy plowed the shop, because they've been hurting this year. If you're a plow guy, you've been hurting this year. At least up here in Michigan, we didn't have a lot of snow. We had some pretty big dumps, but it just, like, for a plow guy, I mean, and I kept thinking, our plow guy, he does a really great job. I could never say anything bad about him, but I thought this was probably his last hoorah. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna get that $70 or whatever, you know, whatever. I don't know what they charge, but our parking lot's not good when it's just kind of snow, because it sticks, it's wet, and you got to use the back blade because it's gravel, and he'll do more damage than good. And especially, I know he watches the weather, so hopefully he didn't. I just hope. We used to have one guy we hired for the business, and he was right around the corner, but man, he just did a bad job all the time. His truck would break down. I think he had his kid. His kid was on some pretty good drugs, and I don't know what happened, but he dug his plow so hard into the gravel, it left a windrow, I kid you not, about 8 to 10 inches in front of the shop on the concrete of gravel. And I came in and I'm like, what is that? I'm like, is that dirty snow or something? What is that? I went up there and kicked it, and I'm like, are you stinking? I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, are you kidding me, dude? I was like, I mean, I literally had to take a flat shovel and shovel the crap. And then I had a big gouge and I'm like, why would you do that? Like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, we finally had to let them go. It wasn't, man, their trucks were rough too. I mean, we're talking, like the truck frames are broke, and I mean, it was like, I watched some of the tree work that they did too. They did tree service. It wasn't good. What's up, guys? What's up, Mr. Mechanic? I've seen, okay, I say rain tomorrow. Okay, so it says I've seen some Pro Lift trucks and precision door around me. All right. Columbus, Dayton, Ohio. Okay, awesome. Appreciate that, Rob. I just think those companies would have to have a higher service install price. Well, Rob, from what I understand, and it's very, very little, I think these guys work more or less off a commission, because obviously with precision. Now, there was a lad out there, and I forget who he was. He was supposed to, I wanted him to get with me. I wanted him to at least shoot me an email, just so we could, I might be able to pick his brain, because I think that'd be a great conversation. But precision, I know from customers I've gone, to after they've serviced, they do a spring or something. This was years ago, and this was like on a little 8x7, 9x7 door, non-insulated. I mean, they charge like $600, and I'm like, I could buy a door for like just basically under $400, and I'm like, for $600, I could have installed you a whole new door, with new weather seal, everything, and they charged you $600, and they what? And she's like, they changed the springs, they changed the rollers, and they gave me like I think they almost do like a lifetime warranty, which they upcycle the springs. This is my assumption. And what I did like though is I liked it that they had the springs colored, that blue or that green color, and I think it even said precision on it. And I like that because I thought, at least if a customer ever calls them and they go, we've serviced you about 6 years ago, are you sure your spring broke? Oh yes, I'm pretty sure. Well, could you go out there and take a picture? And I thought, man, if a customer goes out there and takes a picture, they could identify that spring right away, that is our spring, and they'll be able to see hopefully a separation in the picture. But either way, they know, bam, that's our spring. And that spring should have been upcycled. That's just the feeling I've gotten, that they upcycle them. And they do that because I feel like they work as kind of like an AutoZone. It's like AutoZone when they warranty, like they'll give you a lifetime warranty on brake pads. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Because the brake pads are going to go bad. But it's a gimmick, right? Because you'll come back in, you got to get a caliper, you got to get brake fluid, you got to get their special little packets of grease that they always sell at the counter. Would you like to buy some grease? And I'm like, no, I already got some. So it's a gimmick, Some people fall for it, some don't. I've seen that one from Mechanic there. Sup guys. At my job, my own company's construction is going well, which is good. I just got a few years of a shorter to go. I got friends to help me build it. I'm going insanely well. Oh, that's awesome. Thought I'd say 1 year until done. Oh, jobs. Awesome. That's great. I ran out of words on, whoops, what is this? On chatting. Whoops, cancel. It says, Jerry ran out of words on chatting, so I had to say until done. Wow, nice. So Jerry, are you building something, or are you saying like you're basically retiring? I didn't know if I quite got that. What is behind me? Basically brick and a fire. That got thrown a lot. It was supposed to be more. The other camera picks it up better. I don't got a lot. I just got the brick today. got the fireplace. I said I was going to do this from the other camera on the computer, but the mic wouldn't work today, so it was kind of. But that's the fire in the background. That's why you see a little bit of light. It should perk up here in a minute. Got to keep warm, man. It's getting cold. It's cold outside. What's bro? He says, "What's up?" He says, "Yeah, pretty green." That's all right, man. We all got to start somewhere. Pretty green and the garage door business. Pretty green, probably in the garage door business. About 2 years in, but with 2 years, I've become the text foreman. 2 months with deal obvious with residential, and I was probably ran out of room. Oh snap! We gotta, you know how it is. Gotta keep them at bay. Put in hide user on this. Bam. All right. Oh man, Mr. Sky's here. What's up, Mr. Sky? Cheers. That's right. Cheers. I even got the red. I want to say the red solo cup like Toby Keith. Rest in peace. It's not a solo cup though, but it's the genie cup. I got the red genie cup. Says was lead for commercial doors install service. Well, that's pretty cool. Like I said, if you got 2 years in, Patrick, I mean that's not bad. That's enough to start getting some experience. Like I said, if that's what if I read it right, that's like I said, when I came to the garage doors, it took me, like I said, it took me a year just to understand it. You know what I mean? Where I was like, oh, otherwise I was just, tell me what to do. You know what I mean? You want me to screw hinges on? I screw hinges on. And once I hit about 5 years, I remember that mark very well. I remember I hit 5 years. I thought, all right, I got this. Like, I got this. And then when I probably got more like, 10 years in or something like that, because you get like, I don't know about you guys, but I get anxiety. You go to a job, and especially if it's only up by 2 rollers, crooked in the air. I mean, the garage door is the worst if it's up in the air, right? A garage door that's sitting down, no problem. Some screws came out or some hinges are off. But a garage door that's above your head, and if you don't have exactly the right equipment, you ain't got a level ground. I'm sure some of you have been out there. You've been on, like a loading dock that's inside the building or something on an angle. The scissor lift won't work right, or you got to block it up. You got to go back down. You got to move the scissor lift. You got to block it again to get the scissor lift to go back up. I mean, it's just, and it seems like it always happens 5 o'clock on a Friday. View deleted. Let me go down here. Was led for commercial door installs. Yes, all you need is booming is those TikTok ads. Oh man, really? Is all I need is TikTok ads, and then my life is good. And so I was gonna tell Patrick too, if you go to Hudsonville, there's which one is there? Compan, which is not too far away. Compan Garage Door. They're a pretty good company. One of my buddies, I believe, runs Zealand Garage Doors. And I have no idea the whole story. I haven't talked to him in quite a while. But I heard, which really stinks, I heard that his whole crew left. And he basically, I think, had his father-in-law. And so he was looking to build another, because it's weird how things, I was talking to a builder that I hunt with, and he's down the road from my hunting trailer there. And he was down and he was telling me about who they used, and all of a sudden, he doesn't really recognize that I do garage doors, but it started coming to him. But you guys ever experience this where you don't want to tell them? Because it's like when you start doing this long enough, you look at certain things, and you're like, I don't want your business. Like, I don't want your business. I don't want your business. Like, he was telling me they were working close to where our shop is, and then they go to these other, and I'm like, that's not even, don't even want to talk to you about this, because you guys go so far away. And he was already telling me the problems they had with this one job and who they were using, and that's how I kind of heard about the one. But there's some good companies down in that area where Patrick's talking, the Hudsonville area. There's some good companies to work for, and they're always, it's actually a very good market, really. It really is. There's a lot of growth down there. Stuff is very expensive in that area for some reason. It's there's actually a builder I know that's down there that comes back up by the shop because the real estate is so much cheaper than down there. So I don't know, Patrick, are you buying or are you gonna rent? You just moving in with somebody? Cheers. I'm building something. Awesome, Jerry. Cheers. Awesome. There's a person's. I already whacked him. It says what? He died. Rest of me, so look up, man. Oh yes, it was Toby Keith, the country singer. You ever hear of him, Jerry? Mr. Toby Keith. He'd always sing the song, Red Solo Cup, I fill you up. Let's have a party. Check him out. He's on YouTube. You can find him out. Toby Keith. 62, man. Cancer got him. Sad. Cancer's got a lot of people. It's got a few people in my family that's got it that have no longer with us. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's one of those things that's really unique. Can't find a cure for cancer, but they found a cure for the cough in record time. And we still can't figure out a cure for male baldness. Luckily, I still got a head of hair. I don't know. I think some things we're being lied to about. Just my opinion. Mr. Hunting, Mr. Dan's here. You ever had to walk across a overhead crane track that had 8 inches of, not 8 inches of steel mill dust. That's a good one, Dan. I had to walk across the beam. We did it a lot for this one, and it's funny you bring that up because this customer, just I think about a week ago, he's got my personal cell phone, and I haven't talked to him in quite a long time. So here's a little backstory. We used to do work for him, and I did everything for this customer, everything. I remember one time I'm leaving the arena, a hockey game here that we have in town. And he calls me, he's like, hey man, there's a door stuck, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, you're in store. I said, I'm actually cutting through town right now. I said, I'll stop in there. I'll take a look at it. And he's like, I'll meet you there. We got to get the door down, right? And this doesn't happen all the time, but you would like to think, right, that these customers, that would implant that seed into their brain that would grow forever. And they would think, this guy, I mean, his family, my family's in the van. That I'm like, yeah, my family, but right now you need the knowledge. I know they got some hand tools there. Right now, we're gonna cut the cables. We're gonna do whatever we gotta do. We just need to get this stinking door down so we can all go home. And so we do numerous of things like this, right? And this guy all of a sudden, he just got on my nerves so bad because he would call me all the time about these springs. And he's like, hey, I know, you told me 2 to 3 weeks for those springs. And it's 4 days later. And he's like, but my boss, and I'm like, dude, you need to stand up to your boss and tell him. Say, look, Dave, Affordable Door and Gate, they are doing the best that they can. Things are a little wonky right now is when the cough, syndrome was going around. And finally, he had to get a quote on an opener. So, of course, he calls or gets 3 quotes or whatever. One of them's cheaper. And it was like, you know what? This is not even worth the fight, man. It's like, Sarnar, buckshot. And so I knew who was the competition, right? And I know their service stinks, just stinks. Like they'll show up for the first time, but then after that, well, obviously maybe about a year now it's been. All of a sudden he's coming through the back door. Oh, hey, what's going on, man? Not much. You're a customer I really don't want to talk to. Like, only time you ever come around, it's never for something good, or hey man, thanks for helping me out, or hey, you guys did a great job, or it's always me, I got a problem, me. And so nothing turned of it. It just seemed like he was prying a little bit, right? Well, then I find out the next day from Cap's like, oh yeah, you know, what's his name? I ain't gonna say the place because I ain't gonna throw him. Called and he's like, he left a message or something. He's like, I'm gonna have to politely tell him we're not interested. But you would go there, and I mean, the concrete was so beat up, your lift would always be wonky wonk. You're up in the lift, it's swaying. You get up on the beam. It's not that we couldn't enforce it. Most of the time, I mean, we used our best judgment, right? But the crane would be down at the other end. But you normally always had to have two guys there, right? So one guy's like in the, you know, lift, like watching that crane, because you don't want to shut them down if you don't have to, right? And the other guy's up on the beam walking, and you can't get close enough with a scissor lift. I mean, it's just, everything is manual nightmare. And then you really need to have the cable that goes across with a lanyard so you can do your work. I mean, it just goes on, and then not have the respect to keep using us, or the loyalty. Like I said, I've come to learn, this is my opinion. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, because I'd love to hear your opinion. But loyalty is like just butter on bread to me. Loyalty, because I look at loyalty that I know your check's clear, I know your bank account, I know, like everything like mingos. But when you're like a first time customer, I'm always real cautious. And then if you start telling me, go, well, I was using this other company, and my eyebrows really just perk way up. What? What do you mean you're using, why? Do they not value you enough? Do you not pay your bills? Are they tardy? What's going on here? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So you got to be careful. But I like those customers that I've had that are like, just take care of it. I trust you. Those are the kind of customers I like. And you make it, it's fair. But yes, I have walked the beam, but not like you, Dan. Not with 8 inches of steel mill dust. I've had about a 1/4 inch, maybe an inch the most, but not 8. But I understand the pain. Straddling that beam. Sometimes you gotta like straddle the bottom of the beam, waddle it. Sometimes you're walking on top of the beam, your back starts cramping up. Oh man, it's tough. Like every step is like a cloud. Oh yeah. Hot steel. Oh man, stuff is nasty. That stuff is the stuff that like you can't even walk in your own house. You gotta like take all your clothes off outside. Then you walk in like with a bag or something, like, babe, and she's like, what the? She's like, you think I'm gonna run that through the wash machine? Like, you're crazy. You just stand outside and I'll hose you. Okay, I'm so sorry. Oh, so Jerry says, I used to be a builder. I built toilets, am I reading that right? Toilet homes and other things. But 7 years ago, I quit that job. I have the one I have now. Did I read that wrong, Jerry? I built toilets. Like if you're like outhouses or toilet. Are you trying to say toilet home? I don't know what a toilet home is. I think of an outhouse. Man, sorry to hear that. My grandma has colon cancer. Oh man, yeah. She survived. She's on chemo. Oh man, that's cool. Glad to hear Graham's doing okay. My Graham, I remember, this is one thing, piece of advice for life. You should always get 3 opinions. More is even better. But I remember when my grandma, she didn't think something was right. Well, she gets, I forget why they cut her open though, somewhere in the chest, I believe. And I remember they basically peeled her open, and she was in such bad shape, they just closed her back up. She had it so bad. And I mean, oh man, I just can't imagine what it was like for her to wake up thinking, oh, I'm on the mend. And she said, they basically said, I don't remember what it was, if it was like 4 months you got to live or something. And for her, everybody's different. I really feel like it shut her down, which is, can't say is right or wrong. But I always remember her saying, I knew that doctor wasn't, doing something right. And I always told myself, man, I'll always get 3 opinions. If I feel like somebody's not diagnosing me correctly or something just feels like they're not, just go get another opinion. You know what I mean? Because she just focused so much on that one guy and used him for so many years, and she just kept thinking something don't feel right, something's not right, I don't think he's diagnosing, but she didn't ever question it. Well, in a nutshell, not saying that's all of it, it might have, cost her life. Maybe they could have caught it a little sooner, she might have had a little more time. That stuff's nasty stuff, man. It's nasty. I don't wish that upon my enemy. That's just, stuff's horrible. Dun, dun, dun. What's the Mr.? I'm gonna say Darn. I'm gonna say Mr. Darn. Got myself a nice overtime call, an hour away. Nice. That's awesome. So man, like sometimes I remember on the weekends, if you're a real hungry person, at weekends and after hours, man, there's some killer service calls sometimes. You don't land all of them, but they they're just, normally you can charge more. Not saying you get greedy, and you butcher somebody on it, but it is a convenience. It's like going to the convenience store, right? You get milk at the convenience store, it costs a little bit more than going to the grocery store and walking all the way in the back of the building, so let's see. Trying to read it on the computer is a little easier to some degree. Maybe. Man, let's see here. Hot steel. Where was I at? Rice, Brian. I got myself a nice hour. Yes. Most Jerry. Yeah, I'm not that exciting, that's for sure. But I do got a few stories, especially when it comes to garage doors or business, because I've been doing it for 18 years. Holy cow, man. I'm not a super seasoned vet. I don't got all gray hairs, but I got a few. As soon as a customer loses loyalty with us, they aren't a priority anymore. Totally agree. And so Mr. Darn, what you should do too is obviously don't forget, make sure you get pictures. If you're going an hour away, you make sure you do all your due diligence, man. You make sure you get pictures, you got good address, what form are they gonna pay with? If it's a resi or if it's commercial, obviously it's different. But get as much detail, because man, tell you what, that's a heck of a drive. It don't seem like it, but if you have to go back 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times, because something got screwed up or you did something wrong or and I think about that stuff, it gets me like, I start shaking, right? Because I go, there's just so many things, I remember this was, I think I've told this before, maybe, but I had a guy, I remember it was like a week later or something, and it was like all of a sudden he said something about a battery. And I'm like, why don't you, because normally what I always kept on the truck is I keep 2 battery chargers for a single truck plan. 2 battery chargers, 4 batteries. That's supposed to be what you have in your truck, and you got obviously a drill, impact, 2 impacts, a trim nailer, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like he was down to like 1 or 2, and he's like, well, I'm gonna probably need, and I said, I go, well, where's your charger? Oh, he needed a charger, I think. And I said, well, where's your charger? And he goes, well, I left it at a job, and it was about an hour away, one way. And I said, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, and I remember the first thing he says, he kind of goes, well, do you want me to leave right now? I mean, it's the morning time, right? We just got in or something. He says, do you want me to leave right now and go get it? And I'm like, no. I said, no. I said, first of all, we're going to call the customer and see if they even have it. Because some customers, believe it or not, will lie or steal or just go, well, they charged me so much money. That battery and that will work good for my nephew or something, or I'll put it on eBay or whatever, right? And so you call down there and you're going to know right away. They going to go, oh yeah, I wondered whose that was, the wife or somebody or even the husband. I wondered who that was, but I didn't know, so I just left it there. It's sitting there, it's fully charged, ha ha ha. Yeah, do you want it? Do you want me to send it to you? You got those good vibes. Well, this one we called, the phone number has been disconnected. Yeah, well, kiss that goodbye. We ain't gonna even try. You know what I mean? It's gone. They paid their bill. They never called us to say, hey, you forgot something. Now, just a pro tip, right? I've said this before too. Cap, what he's come up with a good idea is he actually has a clip, a lanyard, and he'll actually pull the keys out of his ignition of his van, put that clip on the power cord, for the battery charger. That way he can't leave. So he gets in the vehicle, because you know how battery chargers are? Like you always put them in a dormway or around the back door or something because there's an outlet there, or just somewhere down in the boonies, by a desk or something, because that's where there's a plug. And it's so easy for you to forget it. But I like that, Mr. Darn. As soon as a customer loses loyalty, they're not priority. I agree with that. Cool, thank you for your help. Awesome. It says, I got caught. Oh no, this one doesn't look good. What was this one? What's Mr. Dan say? It says, I got caught in a overhead crane after a worker, oh my gosh, disregarded the lockout tag out, I'm assuming tag on the breaker. Ooh, switch, almost lost my leg. Oh my gosh, a half a year of rehab, dude. Wow, Dan, thanks for sharing that. That's horrible, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Man, that stuff is dangerous. It really is. I remember one time I was at a commercial job, and that I cannot tell you, when I was younger and I worked for other businesses, they really harped on lockout, tag out, lockout, tag out, lockout, tag out, big time. And when you're young, you have no concept of that stuff. You're like, whatever, man. I'm the man. I got these big muscles. Yeah, I'm ripped. I'm whatever. You know what they say? It's like young and dumb. We don't need to say the rest. Keep it clean, boys. And so anyways, I was at this job, and I think it was my business partner, or at least the guy I was working with, employee, he didn't label it very good. He didn't label the tag worth a hoot or something. And I remember it was on electric breaker. And with those electric breaker ones, they have little screws that clip on. They're pretty easy to manipulate and pop them off or whatever. Well, anyways, you know how it is. I had to walk quite a ways. It's a loud industrial building. I mean, they got those big electric motor, 3-phase, humming, just whoa. I mean, the place is just louder than snot. You got to wear earplugs the whole time you're in there. And for whatever reason, I took out the wrong lockout tag out. I think they both weren't labeled or something like that. And I remember I was playing with it and the key or something or whatever, and I was like, whatever. I was like, I'll just pop it off. We're done with the job. We're good. Anyways, I popped that thing off. And I remember I flipped the breaker, and I come walking back, and it takes me like 3 minutes or something, whatever, to walk back. And I'm like, is it, and he's like, we still ain't got no power. I mean, he's up right where he's checking it with a volt. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went running back, and I thought, what if I just turn this thing on and it's on a motor that this guy, because they had big containers with impellers in them. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I just turned this pump on or something and it just chopped up this dude. And I just thought, like, I was like, this is why they need to be labeled. This is why we have to take more time, or I should have walked with them and said, no, it's yours. You go take it off. That's where I screwed up. Now I'm thinking about it. I should have had it. It's yours. You go take it off. But he was up in a lift or something, and speed is key, but speed can kill you too. You know what I mean? And I'm very lucky that I didn't hurt somebody. We were changing a spring on a full vertical. Oh man. These ones that we work on at that one place, they have a high lift in them. But everything's a nightmare to get to with that beam in the way. You can't ever get the lift close enough to help you lift the spring. So it's like everything has to be manually. You got to have a guy in the bucket or in the lift, hand it over to you. You got to, everything's double the work, it seems like. And then it's like you send them a bill, and that was the place that just the loyalty, and it just drove me nuts. That was like, this guy didn't have the nerve to stand up and say, look, these guys are doing the best they can. If we want to do better, what we need to do is we need to order our own springs, and we need to carry a couple in stock. That's the only way we're going to get this to be faster turnaround. But would they do that? Nope. Do you have your own company run emergency service? Yeah, we got the garage door business. We used to do emergency service, but it's kind of one of those things that we phased it out because I guess we got older and lazier in a sense. If you do get a time and a half double, depending on what time the call comes in. So there's really like no silver bullet for it, right? For these emergency calls. But what I've seen is, like, for us, I always looked at it like the guys are going to get a 2-hour minimum regardless, right? And they're getting overtime. The problem with emergency service calls, though, is it's super hard. I don't know if this is a common thing. You guys, comment below if this is something that you've noticed too. I've noticed this in other businesses. I've noticed this in the garage door business. I've literally watched my business partner take a phone call, and if he takes that phone call, it switches his attitude into like, oh my gosh, like, we got to go. I told him we're going to be there in an hour. We got to get going. But if I take the service call and I'm like, 10 minutes later, something, I go, hey man, we got another service call. We got to get going. He's like, oh, well, I was hoping to get out early today. And I've seen that in, like I said, other businesses too, where it's like, if the person deals with them directly. So what my point is, it's hard to do emergency service calls because, like, it's almost like a dictator overthrown type thing, where if we had emergency service calls and you have to call another tech because you're up camping or you're with your family, it turned into like, it was almost like you already promised the customer, hey, I'm going to get somebody out there for you. You called maybe 2 or 3 different guys, right? And they're all, well, I'm busy, I'm this, I'm that. Can you call, So what I would recommend if you're going to do it is you gotta make sure you rotate it in a sense. So every other, or every weekend, or it should rotate if you got enough guys to do it. Even if it's 2 guys, say, look, it's going to be your weekend, or get that figured out on that Friday. Say, look, are you around this weekend? Yeah, I'm home. I'm just doing the honey to-do list. But it's hard to you almost have to pay them so much to motivate them. Say, well, look, if you come in, you're getting a 2-hour minimum, but it's $200. You know what I'm saying? Because it is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I've done it many times where you have to drop what you're doing, right? You're cutting the grass, you're washing cars, waxing cars, whatever, playing in the pool, something, whatever. Down at the beach with your family, you got to drop what you're doing. It's a huge inconvenience. But if you're a young man, you're starting out, like I said, you ain't got the family and stuff like that, it's so much easier, right? Because you got so much time on your hands, you don't even know what to do with it. So that's kind of my 2 cents. But we don't do emergency anymore. We used to. It really worked good for the residential people. Because they would, they'd call you, but you really need to start, you need to add like another $100 to their bill in a sense, because what you're going to pay a guy, you know what I'm saying? Just, you got to add more money to it. And it can be good money, honestly. But for us, like I said, we weaned off of it. I had somebody once, right in front of me kind of, well, it says you do 24-hour service, and they act all real jerky like, and it's like, whatever, dude. It's like, I got sick of, when I was younger, I got sick of keeping the phone, on me, and then you get spam or something, wakes you up in the middle of the night, or you do get an emergency call, and it's commercial or something, and it's like they're, were you sleeping? Yeah, I mean, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, like, what do you think? I should just get a robot version of me to do the work for me. It might come one day, you never know. Looking to buy, my wife's family lives out there. Oh, sweet. Well, do some shopping around. Like I said, you might want to have to go to the outskirts, because I think Hudsonville is honestly there's Hudsonville, what is there, Jenison? Those are super expensive areas. The prices of them are just, and I don't know which way I'd go. I don't know if I'd probably try to go a little bit more north. If you're in the Hudsonville area in the Michigan, because I guess you're kind of running up to like West Olive. Grand Haven isn't too bad if you're on the outskirts. If you go east, what is it, east? Yeah, east is like the Grand Rapids. People are, I think, more rude that way. South, I think it gets more rude. The areas get to be pretty rural. But yeah, I'm sure you can find something. You got to just scout around, but there's not many. I don't think there's too much ghetto over in the old Hudsonville. This is a commercial job. I'm going out to close the door. Oh, since it's a grocery store. Okay. And we'll be going back Monday to finish the job. Priority is to get yep, I totally know that, man. I understand that. Priority. That's always the big thing, right? With garage doors, got to get that door down, man. Got to secure it. Got to keep the bugs, the rodents, the thieves, the cold air from coming in. Secure the building. Secure the building. I remember one time I had a guy, and items to get them free. I remember I had this guy. I told him, I said he came back, he was done for the day almost, right? And we weren't really done, but we were very close. It was around the 4 or 5 o'clock range. And I mean, the phones are just, I'm like, both, he walks in the office, and I'm like, dude, you got to go do this service call. And he's like, what? And I'm like, just take my truck, because I know I keep my truck all stocked. I know my truck very well. It's got all kinds of goodies in it. I'm like, just take my truck. I said, you got to go over to this place. It's actually, well, I can say it's Brunswick. It's you guys bowling alley stuff, pins and stuff like that. We have that over here in Michigan. Anyways, he's got to go there to get the door down. And I remember he went over there, and he comes back, and he came back so quick. I was like, what did you do? And he goes, oh, I went and looked at the door. I said, what do you mean you looked at the door? I said, did you get it down? Well, he goes, no. He goes, they got fencing all around the place. I'm like, oh my goodness. And this was a guy, he had some problems. He was always tipping the bottle at nighttime. So he'd come the next day, he wouldn't drink at the job, but he was so bloodshot eyes and that from the night before, he's hungover basically. And I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I was like, are you serious? I was like, why do you think I sent you over there? I was like, you need to get the door down. I was like, it's Friday. Think about it. It's Friday. It's evening time on Friday. They want to go home. They need to secure the building. Like, they can't just leave it open, even though we had nice weather. I mean, it's just some people's kids. says, I see people purposely leave unbought items and get them for free. Huh. That's cool. Emergency calls, I get, Rob says, emergency call, I get door down and secure, put a lockout tag on it, take picture of it. Picture, man, I like that. Disconnect common wire for push button and at the motor. Nice. Nice. That's awesome, man. Oh my gosh, dude. Dan says I was watching my leg. Was it severed off? Whew. Dan probably wasn't around, but I took a skill saw to my knee. That was fun. That was fun. I don't think as bad as yours by any means, but and actually one of the guys that works at the shop, he took a skill saw, I think, to the side. I think he was trying to copy me. He had it pretty close to where I did. Mr. J, mine was bigger. Mine was bigger of a cut. If I can't get into a spring safely, then I walk. If I can't get to a spring safely, then I walk from the job. Tin Man says, nice. Nice. Oh my gosh, Tin Man says, I've fallen 16 feet to the concrete. Oh my gosh, to go home at the end of the day. It's weird because thinking about that, you know, and the thing was is that the guy mentioned to me, so I had a place that I wanted to get roofed, right? Well, I knew the neighbor person got theirs. And I went over and talked to them. They said, well, we had, you know, the Amish do it. I said, okay, well, do you have his number? And she still had a sign and everything. She says, yep, here's, you know, I took a picture of it. Well, I called the place. And I tell you what, just one of those phone calls that you never would expect. I mean, that you don't ever even want. And I think the guy called. The one guy was, I can't remember what his first name was, but it was some kind of yoder. Anyways, this guy calls. His name's Jerry or something, right? And I'm like, oh, hey, you know, I'm thinking this is like, you know, just a sales guy, just a worker, employee, whoever, right? And he goes, no, this is his brother. And I said, oh, hey, how's it going? And he goes, well, I don't know how to tell you this. And as soon as he said that, I was waiting for the whole, like, I don't know how to tell you this, but we're a year booked out or something, right? Or we're a couple weeks out, or we're 6 months, you know, we probably won't be able to get to your job. Hey, I totally understand that. I totally respect that. I totally get it. But instead he tells me, the yodeler guy, he goes, that's my brother. And he goes, he died. And I said, what? And I was like, he goes, yeah. He goes, well, he says, you know, he took a job that was a little farther away than what he wanted to go. And I'm like, this is what I always preach, right? About that distance, right? And you're under pressure. You're trying to get the job done. You only got so much time. You know, a day job just turned into a 3-day job now, right? Your guys are mad. You whatever. Maybe you had to stay at a hotel you weren't expecting at. Maybe you're traveling. That's what can happen with the distance, right? And he tells me, he says, well, he was traveling farther than what he wanted to. Well, anyways, he was taking the screws out of the roof. And he didn't realize that was a spot that was patched. So he thought he had a purling underneath him. And he took out the screws and the sheet metal gave, and he went 30 feet to his death on a concrete slab. And I went, oh my gosh. And I'm just like, you know, I'm heartbroken. I'm so heartbroken. I'm like, because when you're in the construction world, you know, as a man, how hard it is out there. It's extremely hard. The sweat, the cuts, you don't really tear up out there that much unless you get smacked pretty hard. But it's super hard work. You know what I mean? And when he said he traveled a little farther than what he wanted to, I thought, man, the poor man was probably trying to feed his family. Maybe work was a little bit slow. There could be so many variables. Maybe he knew the person, maybe he didn't. You know, he's probably just, you know, just going to town, man, trying to get this puppy done. And all of a sudden that happens. Now you think about it, right? Think about how long it took, obviously his family's not close, the resources, whatever, right? But I'm always preaching. That's why I'm like, you put more time into it, it could cause more problems. It could be warranty. It could be, you're rushing, you're being not safe. Now, obviously, if he would have been, how the Amish are, he should have been wearing a harness. But there's all kinds of stuff. I know I'm one of them too. I deal with stuff all the time that I'm like, shouldn't do it that way. I'm guilty. Since from the time on, it was rule to take pictures of the tag out, numbers written down and given to the person in charge. That's awesome, man. That stuff's always so skewed. It's like when I worked at one shop, they just give us, normally a lockout lockout has a unique key, a bigger key. This one they'd give us, because we had so many, right, for different pieces of equipment. I kind of get it, but they use this master locks. You know what I mean? And you kind of look at it, it's like those things were the easiest to like pick lock, or just take your key and run it up and down a few times and get it to just pop. Kevin says, a lot of times when you explain emergency rates, they decide it's not an emergency anymore and can wait till morning. That's so cool, man. I'm so glad, Kevin, you brought that up, because that is true. I've had a lot of customers, you can really defer them, or you can make it till like they can wait till Monday, or the next day. You can kind of massage that back into your playing cards, right? And if you know your area good enough, and you know that your competition and stuff don't answer, it can work in your favor. Except it's always a bummer if they call back and go, well, somebody else called me back and they took care of it. So that's why you always still, even if you got that set up right for the time, the date, and everything, don't forget to call them. I'm sure Kevin does it, but I'm just saying for other people, don't forget to call them that day or an hour prior to and say, or text them, whatever they prefer. If they do text, just say, hey, I just let you know, I'm getting ready. I'm loading up right now. I'm going to head your way. Because I tell you what, it's a lot easier for them to go, oh, we already had a family member come over. He fixed it. I forgot to let you know, because it happens all the time. You know what I mean? Or we found somebody else, or we found somebody cheaper, or our house burnt down last night, and so we don't need a new garage door fixed anymore, because now it's an insurance claim. Those are all things, like I said, that communication is so important, and it can save you so much money and so much headache. It'll make your head spin. What's Mr. Rob say? Rob says, we have an on-call rotation, which is smart, and we asked the customer if it's an emergency and needs to be done right away, then they tell them what it's going to cost before we leave. Yeah, you gotta always inform that customer. I tell you what, that's one thing I screwed up with a lot, was not informing the customer enough. It still to this day is not 100% bulletproof, but it just blows my mind how many times you can eliminate stuff if you ask the customer questions, and explain in detail how things are going to work and when you're going to be there and time frame. And then even if, like I said, if it's another day, anytime you probably put like 4 hours into a job for the next day or something, I'm calling, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm calling. I'm going to let you know, say, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm heading out your way. I want confirmation. So that's why I say maybe you want to do it like an hour ahead of time, just to give them some time if you're going to text them or stuff. And I've done it where I've texted them before, and then I start going, you know what? It's time for a phone call. You know what I mean? Like, I'm picking up the phone and I'm ringing, and it's like, all right, what's going on? I never got it to this point, but I thought about always what I needed to do is tell customers, say, look, the day that we're coming out, you need to make sure you answer your phone. Because if you don't answer the phone, we're gonna move on to the next person. But you know how it is in our industry. Sometimes we don't get days, we get hours. Like, I need you here in a couple hours, or I'm calling somebody else. Especially if it's residential. Commercial, depends, right? It just depends. They got more doors they can use. It just all depends. we don't advertise Mentorship, but we do offer emergency service to select customers. Yeah, that's a good one, Tin Man. I think we if we had most of our customers, luckily, commercial ones, they pretty much all work, the whole 7 to 3, 8 to 5. So we're fortunate that we don't run into that. But if we had a customer that was like, hey, we know it's going to cost extra and we're willing to pay for it, and would you guys do it? Yeah, we'd find a way, but we just don't get enough demand. You know what I mean? It's just the only one I can think of a while back ago, it was quite a while ago, was that we missed out on a UPS one. And they got a pretty big outfit. Man, I was like, now it could have been a third party calling too. I don't know, but I know they called. We called back in an hour or two or something later, and they already found somebody else. And I was like, darn it. I was like, that's the only one I would have been like, that I can think of that was like, would have been nice to get in with. Excuse me. We don't advertise it. What's up, Mr. Tony? Good evening, all. It is a good evening. It's a good evening to be alive, sucking air. We're not 6 feet under, none of us. That's here anyways. Could always be better. Could always be worse. What's Mr. Primetime? I've listened to this because you honestly do just to help. Oh, that's awesome, because I know you're not making money off this YouTube channel. It's kind of funny. If I make a few dollars, I normally do like a giveaway or something. There's not. It's more or less, I've been thinking about this. And there was I think on the last live stream, there was a 21-year-old, and I forget the question, and he was saying something about how, like, what would you do if you were a 21-year-old? And I thought, man, that was such a powerful question to me, because I know I've been there. And it's really tough when you're a young man. Man, when you're a young man, it's really tough. And the world has not gotten any easier. I got a fire behind me. Somebody asked. But it's super hard as a young man to figure out, especially with this crazy world. You get out of school, you don't know, you got the college thing. People are pushing college on you big time. And, like when I was starting out, I remember I didn't know what I wanted to be. I was like, I don't know what I want to be. So why would I go invest a bunch of money into something I don't know what I want to be? And I seen it actually my ex-wife, how she would detour. She's going to be a nurse, then she's going to be a veterinarian, then she's going to be this, and then she's going to be that. And then as long as I keep going to school, I don't ever have to pay on this. Okay, well, keep going to school, because you got to go to school, because you can't, it's a horrible cycle. And there's just not much knowledge out there, especially like for the garage door industry and stuff like that. Some of the business, there's a lot of guys that'll show all the hype and stuff and show, here's my new truck, and look at me, you can be a millionaire if you get my course. And I would rather it be, like I said, if I can help somebody out there, because I'd love to do it at some point too, is I'd love to be able to help somebody, starting out, go work with them, train them. I think that'd be great, to teach them. Because who was it today? I think it was Tony. Tony was showing me some killer tricks with the backhangs that just amazing. I can't show it because unfortunately it's on this phone. But Tony was showing me. I want to show it, but I can't. I don't know how to do it. I got my old backup phone, that's all. Anyways, but Tony was showing me on his backhangs for commercial. If you ever had that steel rib, he was showing me he uses some the nuts with flanges on it, That's how he uses it for a spacer for his piece of angle to go on the ceiling. And I'm like, I'm still laughing inside about it because I looked at it and I was like, that's freaking ingenious. When I used to do when you have rib, the steel on a ceiling on a roof, that's ribbed. I remember the first time I did it. I remember I took a saw, a grinder, and I grinded it all out. It made sparks everywhere, all that smell from the grinding disc, and I felt horrible doing it. I really did. And I was like, this is just like, I'm cutting somebody's roof, baby. You know what I mean? Like they spent all this money. It's pretty white. And I'm up here on the grinder, sparks are flying. I got people working below me. I'm showering them with sparks. Too bad, mothers. I got to get this done. And yeah, I remember looking at it. I stuffed a piece of angle up there. It looked like crap. It just looked like crap. I even tried taking some touch-up paint. I mean, it just looked horrible. And then what I would do is I would start making little chunks. I made little chunks that go in between the ribs on the ceiling. That was my go-to. And I was like, all right, I got this. I'd pull out their screws, right? Use their screw holes to, put my big lags in there. But you got to be careful because you don't know which way the board is. You know what I mean? So you don't split it and blow it to pieces. And then Tony's got to come along, and he shows me he uses those nuts, on there to space it, and it just is one nice continuous piece. And I thought, that's ingenious. That's ingenious. It's right there. And how many years have you done it the other way that you thought you were the genius, and now this guy just showed you something that you're like, I'm impressed, man. Damn, I'm impressed. You did good. You did good. So thank you, Tony, for sharing that with me because that was awesome. Like I said, it's those little things, man. Those are the little things in life I'm always craving, man. Those are always the little things I want to teach my kids. I want to teach my nephews. I want those teeny little nuggets like that just mean so much. So much. Because it's just, how long have you been doing it? And you've been doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Or how long have you been doing it and there was something that you could have done that would have made, saved you 5-10 minutes or just made it look better, right? Made you a better craftsman. Oh, Hunter says, I see you. I think I already said that. What's behind me? It's the fire. It's not ripping very good though. I put a big log in there, a big piece of pine, and it's not liking it. It was sitting outside. It was had a little bit of snow on it, but lately the sap on it has been burning really fast. So it'll burn the outside. Back in the day, you had to, what's Mr. Dan say? He says, back in the day, you had to do the work, no matter how dangerous it was, or you were out. He says they found someone that would do the job. That's before lifts and impacts. Oh man, I know. I think it was. I think Rich sent me. He said somebody sent a link, or Rich did. It could have been Tony, because we were talking about the Surewinder. Here we go, the Surewinder, and I was asking for the Brute Winder. I was thinking about a cordless drill, and he showed me the one that was a Milwaukee, a 90-degree Milwaukee that you could put a battery on, probably an M18. And I said, man, I seen the picture of it, and first thing I thought of, because it's got that drill chuck on it, all I kept thinking is, you're using this drill, right? And it catches for whatever reason, which it shouldn't, because obviously on a Surewinder you're winding a spring and not. But you guys remember the old drills? I know Dan does, and that was the thing, man. When you had a cordless drill, you were the man, right? And that thing would bite. You didn't set the clutch right, and pow, man, it smacked you in the face, about knocked you off the ladder. It was always a chuckle when you're working with somebody. You see them do it in the corner of your eye, or you do it yourself. And you're like, son of a burr, and they're like, what's going on over there? Did you hit yourself? Shut up. Well, like I said, I still remember when the impact came along. I mean, it was revolutionary. Who would use this stupid thing? This thing's so silly and small, and man, you use that, it was like butter. I remember the conversations even. Dude, this thing's so nice. We got to get another one. And that then now it's history, right? It's amazing how you forget the little details on that stuff. That's pretty amazing though. That's where we're at though. We got some nice stuff. Scissor lift, I didn't hardly ever use scissor lifts. Dan, when did you start in the door biz? When were you kind of in that stuff? Because I did 06, and I still don't feel like I've seen that much. I know they're around, but now it's like, you just got rental companies and semi trucks pulling up, and they're just whipping these things off. They give them to like each worker on a construction site. It wasn't like that. I don't remember, but I didn't do a lot of commercial. But even when I was at, resident or at commercial places doing, it wasn't like I seen the maintenance guy driving around a lift and it was like, oh, hey man, can we borrow that? Or hey, can you come over? It just didn't. I remember a lot of baskets on forklifts, and I really hated the whole basket on forklifts unless it was one of my guys or me or whoever driving it, right? Because it's like the forklift drivers, man, they're just sitting there joking around. They don't understand where you got to go. They're like, they just like put you up in there like, are you good? And you're like, no, I'm like 10 feet away from the spring. Like, you got to move closer. And then you get closer, and then it's like, oh man, can you move over? Like, oh yeah, here, I'll just do it while you're up there. And you're like, oh, the heck with that, please don't. And you're sitting there just hanging on for dear life, and you're watching a little chain, hooked to the lift that, the whole basket's moving. It's terrifying. It's better than ladders sometimes, but it's just, the scissor lifts just, are night and day. They're just so much better now. Oh, what's this say? I should do a podcast. I should. A little confused. I got to do it. Like, I don't get a podcast. I got to do it with somebody, right? And isn't this kind of a podcast? I don't know. I never understand. I'm always hear podcasts, and I'm always like, is that just more or less radio? Voice? I'm game for it. I got a couple guys that were reaching out. Got one guy. It's about 4.5 hours. We were talking about meeting up for the weekend. I don't know if we're gonna video any of it. I think for himself, he might be starting out or something. But I love that kind of stuff. I told him, I said, come on up. I said, I'll buy lunch. Have you ever, let's see, Nature said, have you ever thought about changing your diet to a carnivore? A little bit. Your mind, your body, that stuff's so important. It really is. And I got to do something, I know, because I'm right around the 205, 210. And I'd like to get more down, about 185, 195. So I got to eventually do something. I work out right now. I don't work out as hard as I could. I could work out probably even more. But boy, I tell you what, there's just something about you got to really take care of your body, and especially, like I said, this is the thing right here. I tell the kids all the time, this brain is so powerful, so powerful. What you manifest, you think about how much stuff we manifest in our own life, right? Messes to, jobs, to wives, to husbands, or whoever, everything is manifested. But everyone probably watching this right now all has fingers and toes and nose and, but what you control, the biggest one right here, how do you handle problems? Do you drag around a lot of baggage? Do you, but no, I haven't. Like I said, I might. It's just, it's hard to be disciplined. You know what I mean? And sometimes that sugar is bad, man. That sugar is like cocaine. It's very addictive, and it's tough. It's tough. Hoping this year, though, maybe do a little bit more. We had one last year, maybe do a little more garden. Gotta take care of that old body, man. Like I said, I always like that saying, right? If you could only have one car, and it had to last you your rest, your whole life, one car. You can have any car you want. Pick any car you want. But that's the only car you ever get for the rest of life. Would you take care of it? And oh yeah, I'd wax it. I'd do good oil changes on it. I'd be so proud of it, you know, whatever. And then, you know, that's how your body is. You know what I mean? That you only get one body. Yeah, the days of the tipping over the cords, man. Oh yeah. I think I was just about in that era because we did have, I remember we had a power corded drill. And then it was like we went to the Milwaukee, or not Milwaukee, the DeWalt 18 volt, and that was like super duper uber game changer, man. I mean, I remember driving to our place to get them repaired and stuff. You know, it was like an hour one way, and then they started selling them in the stores. Um, and so now they're like a dime a dozen. You can find them like everywhere. You know, and I look at it now like if you're starting out in the garage door business, I would not recommend. I've done it. I would not recommend buying used tools. The only one I might consider buying for a used tool would be the not the framing nailer, but it would be the trim nailer. That's the only one. But that was only if it was the old 18 volt DeWalt's. Now the new ones, I probably wouldn't even trust that because they have those cylinders, they have those gases in them. I think DeWalt still uses a centrifugal force. And those work good, especially in colder climates and stuff. Those things were just, I think I still got 3 or 4 of them because the guys don't use 18 volts anymore. And I just used one actually the other day on a cat tower because the cats like broke the tower off, and I ended up, the base was still there, and I was like, oh well. Let me step back. It got a little wet. We have a water filtration thing, and it leaked a little bit, and it got it wet, and got that beaver spit wet, and it finally, the cat was doing its thing, you know, clawing that puppy, and all of a sudden, wham! But I grabbed that old DeWalt, that old trim nailer, baby, and she fired away, man. Jerry says, hi, Dave. He says, I finally caught. Awesome. Your live cast. Loving it. Awesome. Jerry's a good guy. Or Jeffrey, I'm sorry, Jerry. It's getting a little late, you know what I'm saying? Now I have to look at the screen. It's so small compared to what I can look over. But I don't want to be rude and be like this. Staring over there all the time. What did a lot of... we did a lot of baskets too. I hate that with baskets, man. I still dread them to this day. You know, it's you always got that chipper forklift driver, right? You know, oh hey, we got a basket. I can go grab it. Like, I mean, just like a puppy dog, right? You know, I can go get it. I can go get it. You know, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. Let me think about this. Let's evaluate the concrete. The concrete looks horrible. A lot of holes, a lot of potholes. 24 feet up in a boom. And you're gonna drive it, and I already washed you, and I can hear the forks just a flinging and picking up pallets and pounding and doing all kinds of stuff. You know what? I think we better just wait till we get the scissor lift over here. Yeah, I know, you know. But I got a basket. I want to use it. No, it's okay. Oh yeah, Hunter says off skids. Yeah, I've done that. I got a couple pictures of me on the skids, you know. Sometimes it's just like, I mean, I try to at least do it now if I have to go on skids. What I would do now is I'd put a harness on, and I actually wrap the harness around the you know, the backstop, like if the forks are, you know, here coming out, you know, whatever, that plate. So at least I have something, because skids are so dangerous, especially if they don't have the boards underneath. They're not real solid skids, because, you know, obviously you just walk in the corner and that thing goes flipping and away you go down, baby. And that's no fun. I don't want to do that. Oh, I'm from Concord, California. What's the weather over there in California? In Concord, what's the temperature at? How's the weather over there? Was it California or Texas recently? They just had that big wildfire that took out. Isn't it weird? Does anybody hear anything about the fire in Hawaii? It seems like that really just went bloop. Like, I don't know if they're rebuilding it. I don't know if BlackRock took it all. I don't know if they're like, did anybody hear about the blue roofs? Conspiracy theories here. What happened to the blue roofs? Skids hated it. It says OSHA put an end to forklift baskets around here. Oh man, I bet it is sketchy. We've never had a deal. I thought we had one because we had I don't remember if it was, I don't think it was an incident, but luckily we haven't had a deal with them. Jeffrey says we use scissor lifts, but experienced that forklift scenario today. That, oh man, yeah, forklifts are really bummer because you got to go up to it, and then you almost need to come back or whatever, or go back down, and then have them reposition. And it's like you never can communicate them correctly, especially when it's a forklift driver and not one of your guys, because they get like, oh hey, there's the garage door spring. Let's put them, put the right side of the basket to the right side of that, or right to the left side or close to the cone. So when he's winding it, he's gonna have room in the basket. Versus they just put you, way to the right, the drum or whatever, the winding cone's on the left. And you're like, dude, I'm gonna have to reach now. Come on. And if you guys got anything, like I said, about business or anything, throw it in there. You got questions? You're new. You're green. Like I said, we were dealing with what's his name there. Who was it? What was it? What was the name on it? I'm looking for it. Hunters on Mr. Dan. It was Patrick. Patrick was saying he's coming over to Hudsonville. 2 years. Sounds like 2 years of experience. And Dan, I see it. 1979, dude. Wow. I wasn't even born yet. I was born in 83. 79, man. Different world. Different world. One thing I always wish I would have done if you're ever starting out in the garage door business, I wish I would have marked how many doors I've done. Because, man, sometimes, I've had years where I was just pumping those things out, and I thought, man, I'd like to know how many I've installed. That's why I just figured it'd be an easy thing. Thing is, for me, is like I'd have to go find like a beech tree, real soft birch or whatever, skin, and I have to like mark it on there so I'd never lose it. And I'd have to go to it like every day, and I just wish I had that kind of time on my hands where I could go to it and I could just pray. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for letting me not lose my fingers today. It was a good day. Thank you. Mark, if one for this, then go back to it and start seeing like, oh my gosh. And somebody would be like, how many doors have you installed? And I'd be like, I've installed, let me go look at my tree. 1,263 so far in 2 years. Oh my gosh, that's quite a bit. You're doing good. Crazy. Right. It was crazy to put doors in a hole at time. What's Nitro? What's Mr. Nito? Nito? That's exactly my thought process. If you don't take care of your body, nobody is, and is the only body we have. I'm doing keto. Nice. Myself. As of now, but I will do carnivore here and there too. That's good, man. Like I said, it's always, I've kind of found over the years, I look at it and I go, nobody cares more about you than you. Nobody, kind of cares more about your family than you. Nobody cares about your health more than you. Nobody cares about your money more than you. But there's a lot of people out there. Somebody just told me, I didn't realize that Home Advisor and Angie's List, I think Home Advisor actually bought Angie's List, which I was like, no surprise. Like, I could see that happening. And I hope they honestly just go belly up, because I really think I get so much negative feedback on them that it'd blow your mind. I mean, I had one that says if you play it right, but you have to play it really, really right and play it hard. And they said that it's still almost like not worth it. They sounds like they got a few customers that were loyal, that stayed or something. That was the best part, but for the most part, what did I say? Hi, this is my partner. This is my partner, and I couldn't go out and get the Milwaukee 12 volt. Oh man. Some adventures. I've heard stories about the old wood doors. Have to drill all the holes for the hinges, scry the bottom of the door to level. Ooh, to level, okay. Work, and then we have to do today. Oh man, I'd love to see the old guys. You know, I've seen a lot of track. It looks like what they did is they'd obviously put the track up and they had holes built into the tracks. They'd pin them because some of them would use those nails that are what are they, like form nails, where you can still pull the nail out. It still leaves the head. Those are left in there. So I was like, oh, I bet that was revolutionary. Like, I can only imagine the salesperson coming in and going, hey boys, we made you a feature. Now what you can do is we punch a little hole in the track here, you know, on the flag, and now you can just hammer it up so you get it correct, and then you can put your screws in afterwards. Now I'm assuming, obviously in 1979, like for Dan, he wasn't doing. I know some of those old boys had to be using hand cranks with those square heads. I mean, I would die to see a video of those old boys installing a door and how long it took them compared to us new modern hippies. You know, I mean, I would love to see it, right? The tool belts. I mean, I would eat it up. I'd be digging through their little tool pouch thing on it, and watching them, and I'd be like, watch this. Could you imagine if you could go back and then you're like, if in that era, and you're like, watch this, boys. You got this sweet DeWalt or Milwaukee impact driver, or you had it so it looked like it was real primitive, and they'd be like, what is that? And you'd be like, they would probably like, what is that? That takes electricity? Looks dangerous. I would never use one of those. I'm still from the era, I can still remember me and my business partner in a truck talking about texting. And he's like, who would ever text is stupid? And I was like, well, you know, back when I was young, I text my girlfriend once in a while. You know what I mean? Love you. Night. But full conversations, you remember the old Nokias, right? The old bricks. I mean, you gotta push the button 3 times to get it to be a letter. Beep, 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 beep. Wait for it to move. Beep, 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 beep. Wait for it to move. I mean, it was horrible. And nowadays, I'm like, dude, I'm all game. Because it's like, when I have to sit there and listen to a phone ring, and I'm like, come on, answer it. And then it's like, hello, you've reached blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay. The mailbox is full, so you can no longer leave a voicemail. I just wasted 10 seconds or whatever of my life, you know, a minute and a half, and now the mailbox is full, you know, and you just want to chuck the phone. So then you still revert back to texting, you know. It says, what CRMs? Richard Anderson, what new CRMs most of your subscribers use? Come on, boys. I use Home or House Call Pro, but they do not have inventory option. Ooh, that's a good question. I tell you what, I want to address this. If anybody watches this video, or anybody I know, please send me, if you got a great inventory system that you're like, dude, this is super simple, it's super cheap, or whatever, hook me up. Because that is one of the hardest things that I've ever, and I still don't have it mastered by any means, without getting something that's where you got to get stickers or do I'm willing to even listen to it. I don't even like, I'll listen to it. And if you tell me, hey, it's $500, $1,000 or something, okay. You know what I mean? But I mean, something that's going to be, you know, 5, 10, 20, $50,000. Oh my gosh, like I can't justify that. Couple thousands of dollars, probably, you know what I mean? But I would still love to even just hear it, you know what I mean? To say, this is what I do. Because the only way I see how you do inventory is when that stuff comes in, you basically have to put a barcode on it, some either QR code or something on it, and then you have to enter it in, or it has to be where you can scan it in, which would be nice. I thought of a Kanban, is it Kanban? Kanban system, right? You know, where you use the cars or you put stuff, but it's hard because all this stuff is all different shapes and sizes. And like hinges, you can't put really stickers on hinges because they got that oily coat. It's a nightmare. It's a stinking nightmare unless you just have somebody that you hire pretty much, you know, part-time, full-time, whatever, that sits there and deals with your inventory all the time. It's a nightmare. I was always hoping, and maybe it'll still come, that Service Spring would offer a service, and I think this would be a really good business for them. But basically when the guys, because actually now I think of it, we got the phones, right? The phones, everybody's starting to do that, right? The QR code thing, whatever you scan it, it'll tell you a price. But I thought if they had it where it was integrated, so when you, let's say you're at a job, you type it in or something, right? Or you would scan it off your truck. Even if it was like maybe a Service Spring app, you'd scan it, right? And go, okay, I'm using this. It would tell you the price. It added up for you, whatever, offer some kind of feature. And it would automatically, now somebody maybe has to approve it, right? Maybe it's a manager or somebody has to approve it. But they would approve that order basically, because now that stuff's going to get sent back out, or it's going to get sent to you. I mean, how awesome would that be? You know, I mean, now I'm sure it could get goofy, and that's why I said somebody's got to approve of it, because somebody hits the wrong number, and you got 1,000 number one hinges, and the guy only used, you know, 10. But something like that needs to come. And I think that'd be great business for them, because now you're automatically always getting product from them, you know, and you get to deliver that slowly trickling in, filling that inventory. Now, obviously, you got to get it to the truck and stuff like that. So that's still a little bit hairy, but what's it say? But we use and I don't even know if I haven't looked into it. I don't know if Jobber offers inventory, and if they do, sometimes they'll use like another company or something, another app, and sometimes these things don't talk all the time. They're close, but they're not perfect, and or they charge you more for it now too. But man, I'm always like, there seems like there's got to be a better way to, like, even if you just use stickers or use cards, or you know, it's really tough because you kind of got the shop or your warehouse or your shipping container, or you got a storage unit, and you know the product's there, but getting the product, making sure it's on the truck is always challenging too, because people forget. I'll do it the next day, I'll do it the next morning, and then they forget. It says usually sunny, but raining today. Everybody's getting rain, man. We got snow here. Jeffrey says, I like Milwaukee, but my favorite for longevity, reliability, and battery life for reasons price is a 24-volt Cobalt. It was nice one time. I remember when we were dealing with Lowe's, the sales guy came in. We were their like #1 installer or something. We won some award or whatever. They brought me a whole bag full of Cobalt tools. I think they kind of scattered, did the Houdini over the time. I was almost 20. I almost graduated high school. Probably in 83 is my guess. Jerry says, Richard Anderson, I've used several CRMs, but in my opinion, the most user-friendly is House Call Pro. Do you know, Jeffrey, do you know roughly what you pay for House Call Pro? I think that'd be kind of just nice information. I don't remember what we pay for Jobber. I don't know that. I think I want to say it's around $200-300. It's my guess a month. I liked it. And then also with House Call Pro, do you also know, like, what was nice with Jobber is we didn't have to do, the biggest thing that sold us is we didn't have to do a year contract. We could do monthly, because the service that we were using before, and I can't think of the name. I always forget it. We ended up spending like $3,000 or $5,000 up front. We used it for like 2 or 3 months. I said, we're done. And I remember the one guy that was working there, he's like, how are you going to do that? He's like, you can't. I said, we're done. I said, college isn't free. I said, this was a learning lesson and we screwed up. I said, but we're not using this. I said, this is horrible. I said, we're not going to get locked into this. We're not going to keep feeding this thing information and then switch. I said, we're switching. We got to go a different route. This thing's horrible to use. It's primitive. Their customer service stinks. I mean, it was, and we even called them and tried, and I wish I could remember their name right now because I would throw them under the bus because they were horrible, just horrible. And so he says, last night I went and did a spring job, garage door that I installed back in 2005. Isn't that crazy? See, that's why I love stickers. I love stickers, or if you do write stuff up on the header or something, I love stickers, man. I love going back and see the initials, and I'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, most time, I always forget where I install stuff until it's like, normally until I turn the road. Like once I turn on the road, I'm like, I wonder if it's that one house. I remember now. You know what I mean? Because I dropped the spring and something went goofy, or her little dog came out, and then it's like you turn in. And sometimes I don't always remember on the road, but you turn up and you see the house, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this. I remember this place. Oh yeah. Last time there was cars parked in the way, I had to ask them to move out of the way or whatever. But I love the sticker. I love a sticker on a garage door. I love it. Especially if you make your stickers so it's what was done. Date, put a date on there. I put an installer. It's really nice to go, so it's like welcome home mat. You know what I mean? You walk in there, you see a sticker, and you're like, hey, what are you going to tell me? Oh yeah, I did a door. Wow. No ifs, ands, or buts, or you get to see how stuff holds up, or held up, I should say. I installed back to it. It was awesome. My quality work has not changed. Awesome. It was so different than putting a steel, but man, would have fight to get steel doors. Huh. Wood doors are crazy, man. Especially when they get old, they start smiling. All the wood doors. Taken out, like, it's always worse. It's really bad when the screws spin, the squares. They'll spin inside the door. You can't, then you gotta like break them off. Let's see here. Different steel. Oh, it says I have one. Yep. This is, the speed wrench. I still have both mine. 5/8, 12-point, works great on those. Yes, that's true, Richard. I have a hard time finding those 12 points. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody's got a good like kind of hookup. So what I was doing, what's worked for me is Craftsman makes a brand. I use the deep sockets, and they're hard to find though, since like Sears, Craftsman's kind of gone away. So what I would do is I'd normally find them like on eBay, but I think they're still they're just kind of hard. But I liked it because it was a kit, so you had all different sizes in there, and those bits got me out of jams before. Like if you needed a 3/4 or 5/8 or something, they just seem to I like the package. You know what I mean? And those ones had the weird they're like, I don't know what you call them, slotted. So they grab that square head. And what I do is they'll actually start wearing out, rounding. And so what I do is I actually take a grinder, and I'll either just put it up against a grinder at the shop or something or whatever to grind it down, or I'll just cut it off almost, which is hard to get it perfectly true when you cut it off. But I'll cut it off, and then I got new meat again, so I can use it for as long as I can, because you always wear out I don't know if it's a 7/16 one. I think it's a 7/16 one. That does fit. Speed wrench. Yep, it's point, square, new nuts, nice memories. Oh yeah. Tony, back when I started, the guy trained me. He was 80. Wow. My hat's off, man. 80. That's crazy. Some people just got it in them, man. They'll just keep on they'll keep on going. I know a few people like that. But I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have a girlfriend back then. Oh man, those women, they can do stuff to us. We love them, but man, they can sure make us go through some loops, huh? He used all hand tools. Oh wow. Oh my gosh, Tony, man. Wouldn't it be so cool? That's who I want to do a podcast with. I need an 80-year-old like that. That'd be so cool. Somebody that's, I mean, using all hand tools, man. That's like the best. Like I said, I'm pretty sure those guys use those cranky ones that, you know, your grandpa would have that you're like, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to chuck it. You know what I mean? But there were so many things I would see. Like, I think it's the Crawford garage doors. You know, those had some unique stuff to them. You know, how they mount the springs, like on the basically at the bearing plate. Crawford was pretty interesting. What was the other one? Barkley? That's another one. Just to see what they did, you know, stuff held up. Some of their stuff held up really good. You know, especially the wood doors, if they had an eave on it, so that water didn't splash and hit the door. Man, the garage doors, I've taken out some that were pretty mint. I felt almost bad, you know, because it was like, you sure you want to get rid of this? And they're like, oh, it's time to upgrade that doors, you know, and then it's like after you're done, they're like, it's okay if my grandkids like throw hockey pucks at it, right? And I'm like, no. I'm like, this door will not take hockey pucks. It will not. That old wood door did. Hell, you know, my kids all played hockey and they all shot on that thing and never had a problem. Times have changed. Please don't do that. Dan says, a running inventory. He says, that's what I like using. He says, my old boss hired a man to do this job of inventory counts. Yeah, I mean, those are tough, man. Like I said, the inventory, I know some of our vendors in that, they'll shut down. And so they'll shut down to just do inventory for like a week. And I obviously got a lot more supplies than I do, but I remember I did hear one time a guy, this guy worked for another garage door company. He said that the guy would literally give him everything in Ziploc bags. Like if you, whatever, was hanging a door or something like that, or doing a revamp, or like here's a spring, you know, everything was in Ziploc bags. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. Like I get it. He seemed like he didn't really like it. Like the guy was really paranoid. And I thought, I get it, man, because people just, it's so easy to reach in bins and just grab handfuls of legs, and I totally get it. I mean, I just, you know, I don't have the time for that, but Rich says, Service Titan has a la carte for garage door companies. Oh, nice. And inventory, but their subscription is 20. Oh man, Richard, I'm so glad you brought that up. Because that's the same thing we ran into. You know, when it's $2,500 a month, oof. You know, and the crappy part is I've done their demos, and it was like, you know, they could probably almost hook me if they would have gave me like a free demo for a while. But it was like there was some catch to it, or they wouldn't do it, or you got to sign up. But $2,500, ow, you know, and I hate spending that kind of money, and that's just a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money, and it's you know what I mean? Like it's not 100%. Like for $2,500, that's like hiring to me. I might as well have another person. I'm gonna have another person. That's what this thing needs to do for me. Like all I gotta do is wave a part next, and it goes, oh, there's a hinge. What are you doing with it? I'm taking it. Okay, see ya. You know, that's what AI is supposed to get into, right? That's what we should be doing with AI. So we can just have a camera set up all the time by the door, and we just walk up and we're going, taking the spring, 218, left hand, stock, 27.5, 2 inches. Okay, have a good day. I'll take it out of your inventory. It says if you make stickers, make sure they are sticky. Yes, because of the rough walls and weird paint. Isn't that the truth, man? I would carry around Windex does an okay job. Windex and paper towel. Plus, it's good to have Windex paper towel because if you got to clean the door up a little bit. But still, I totally get it. You want the Mac Daddy of stickers. You don't want to cheap out. You want sticky, sticky, sticky because they just get coatings on them that are just, ugh. You know what I mean? They're nasty. Dan says 3/8, 8 point, half, 8 point. Nice. He says I use a 7/16, 12 point for setting drums. Oh, great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I buy those little sockets. I bought those ones don't seem to wear out so much for the drums, for your those square headed ones on your drums or for your set screws on the springs. I never had those wear out. I guess I don't work hard enough. But those ones for those wood legs, or not wood legs, but the square heads on wood doors, I burned up a lot of those. But I tell you what, those are night and day. Because if you got to sit there with a pair of pliers, which sometimes you still do, I've gotten where if the door's rotten enough too, I've always just take a flat bar. I just start smashing it into the back of that hinge and I just pry everything right through it, bust it right through. Sometimes I just get, I don't know if it's lazy or speed or whatever, I'll just take a Sawzall and just start chopping the nut stuff off and then just pry the rest off. And winding hubs, yep, speed wrench. I remember when the gear wrenches came out; those were pretty slick, man. Those were game changer too. It's weird though. I used to be a big gear wrench fan. We used to buy the gear wrenches with the ratchets, and they just held up so good. So that's what I used, right? And then it's like, this was a few years back. We kept buying them, and they kept breaking on us like prematurely. Like the whole guts would come out of it, or the ratchet thing would quit working. So then I think Cap went to Husky, and Husky was holding up pretty good. And I think now he still uses Husky, but I still got some of the old gear wrenches, and the old ones still work. But the new ones, it's like they did something different. They changed their something in them, and they're cheaper built. It says, have you ever built and installed a custom wood door? I think the closest one I've ever done is I've built one out of plywood, and that was just for a temporary use. So I just weighed it after I was done. I built like a little frame for it with 2x4s, then I put sheeting on it, and that was just an emergency situation. But the only thing I've ever built that was a big, heavy wood door was a man door, and that was for an old house. I doweled everything, I glued everything. I think I just had a lot more time on my hands. It was kind of, it's still there to this day on an old house, but the weather seal's all funny on man doors, a lot different. But never built like a custom decked out one, if that's what you're saying. I never done that. Everybody says yes. Stan says with cedar tongue and groove or wood flush, we did that all the time. Oh, wow. Oh, okay, so we did the cedar tongue and groove. Okay, flush time. Huh. I feel like I tore out a lot of those doors. Push built or scratched on a calm machine. Huh. Interesting. We have a lot of older Martin doors. I can't say I've seen Martin doors around here. Martin doors. They use a lot of Allen screws. What? Dang, man. Yep, definitely haven't seen one of those doors around here. I had never seen one of those that I know of. A lot of those transfer red square bolts in the holes to retorsion door. Interesting. So House Call Pro, between 50 and 300 depending on what you need it to do. Can customize it depending on your needs. so you get only what you need. Price varies with needs. Nice. Nice. Now, the only thing I wonder about, like with House Pro, is will it communicate with like QuickBooks? Let me see here if I can just kind of slow it and bring it up a little bit just so I can kind of semi-see it. Whoops. Let me see here. What's Mr.? I don't do commercial work, but always thought it would work pretty good in that kind of situation. Nice. All right. So let's do the House Pro here. The House, because I don't know nothing about House Pro. House Pro. It says there's an ad. It's right at the top. It's House Pro. Easy to use home service software for your business. Nice. Nice. It's got scheduling, which looks a lot like Jobber. I'm sure a lot of these companies, in a sense, once somebody kind of builds something, they can kind of go off either direction, But yeah, I mean, as long as it's, like I said, if it's working good, then why change it? That's what I mean. That's how I look at it. A lot of things. I just know, man, I wish I could remember that name of that one. I just would, like I said, if you go with a company and they want you to pay a year contract, they want you to spend, a couple $1,000s up front, do not do it. That's all I can say, because, oh my gosh, was it horrible. It was horrible. But we were so desperate looking for something, and we did the research we thought, but you know how it is, right? It's always, you get into something and then you find something else better, so it's to me, it's college isn't free. We wouldn't have been there if, we were with this horrible company. We went to a really great company, it felt like. And is there probably another better one? Probably. Like Service Tight, I bet it'd be the cat's meow. But for $2,500, it ain't that good. Not for us, not right now anyways. It's just not, it's not feasible. But the best thing is we don't have any complaints, because like I said, that one software we used, it had to be linked. They had to link it to a desktop. It was horrible. And I remember, like, it was really weird because you'd be at the office and like the secretary had to remote, and we had to use like a certain router to make it communicate. It was a nightmare. And I remember, like, you'd be sitting there doing something, do an estimate, filling out paperwork or something. All of a sudden, the computer would like start doing something, and you could see him like click into that software. And you're like, "Ooh, this is weird." And you just watch her, and then you're like, "All right, I got to do something else. I ain't got time to watch her." You know what I mean? And then like you like pound the table or something, and it would move the mouse. It would automatically kick her out. Oh man, was she mad? And she'd be calling you, and then she'd call you too, just randomly, and be like, was somebody at the office right now? And you're like, there ain't nobody there. We're all out in the field. Like, there's nobody there. Well, I can't get on for some reason. You're just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, this is just horrible. So my big thing is I tell them, I always go, like anytime I use software, I'm like, can I use this from like a hotel? Like, I want to be able to use this from a hotel room or like a lobby. That's why I'm like trying to explain. Like, I want to be able to go anywhere and click in and see it. So if I have a customer that calls me out and I'm on vacation, or I need to address something, or my secretary goes on vacation and she can access it too, where I can go, hey, look, I'm looking at your estimate. I can't understand what this is for. Oh, Mr. Tanner finally made it to the party. He's out hustling. Says I'm supposed to, what does it say here? Hey, be safe out there, Dan. Have a good one. About my bedtime too. I'll probably give about another 10 minutes or so. It says I was purposed to build one a few years back, but I didn't. Don't have the carpenter skills to take on such a project. So I kindly declined the offer. I heard way later that the project was a knee. Something. Oh, it says, hey guys, sorry I'm late to the party. Duty says, late baby duty. Oh, that's right, Tanner. That's right. I get that, man. That baby duty. You gotta take care. You know. That's one thing I wish the kids could like get out of the diaper thing. That was the thing, man, because diapers are expensive, and they're toxic, they're gross, they're like, they're in your garbage. You got to rotate your garbage, then you got to take the garbage out to the road or whatever. They're this little nuclear bombs, and then if something gets into them, an animal or something, or those kids, man, they have those blowouts. It goes up the back. Woo wee, man. If we could just pass the diaper stage and the kids like walking, that's my stage. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, pass diapers, boom, they're walking, I'm good. Like I can handle this, but the diapers, man, I remember the wife buying those packages and I'd be like, how much? Oh my gosh. Like, if I had to build a door, but we had to create an overlay 2-inch. Ooh, but did have to save a lumberyard's butt 1 year. Oh man, I know how that goes, nightmare. And we're able to make it work properly. Oh man. And build a lift track to mount the springs below the windows. Holy cows. And to lift above the windows up to the ceiling. Oh my gosh. Garage and take piece track to got order right from the local lumberyard. On the 3 clope wood doors they ordered low headroom tracks. Few doors green, for the greenhouse. Man, 20-inch Midland door residential radius. Crazy. Yes. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Jeffrey, for being here. Like I said, I'm gonna probably jump off too. I gotta work tomorrow. I got stuff I gotta do. There's always something that's gotta get done. Always something gotta be cleaned, maintenance, fixed, sharpened, hammer, nail, you name it, right? So we just had to make our own 7-foot end caps for the lift of sectional conversion. Found sheet to bend. Holy cow, man. C-channel per mark, a few sets. Wow. Man, that's crazy. Man, I tell you what, guys, guys are doing good, man. You're killing it. I mean, that's what you got to do. Sometimes you just gotta conquer it. You know what I mean? You just can't stop. You gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? And then, you hope that the customer remembers it or takes appreciation or pays you well for it. And sometimes they don't. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of runs to the vendor far away. Go to their plant to pick up stuff because things were behind, or I've had it before where I've screwed up an order myself, and you have to try to pull a rabbit, out of the hat. It's tough, man. It's tough. I can definitely relate with you guys on it, especially when the cough syndrome. I was building a lot of sectional doors, man. A lot of sectional doors, insulating them, pulling the end caps off. I mean, some of the stuff you guys are doing is even more technical than that. But just the fact that you got to tear a new door apart, rip it down, cut it. I mean, just to make all this stuff work. It's a whole math formula, pretty much. Getting springs right, getting the drums right, getting the weight right, getting the making everything work. It's tough, man. It's a tough biz. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, it's not like that vending machine. You just throw the vending machine out, or get another one, or repair it. Throw your Snickers bars in there, and put your little bags of chips. And it's not life or death. If it breaks down, you're just losing revenue. You know what I mean? Where garage doors, you know how it is. If you're like, well, sorry, I can't. I don't know what I'm doing. They're gonna call somebody else, and they're not gonna ever call you back. And you're like, oh. But don't you remember the one time when I came? Don't you remember the last time? You got to communicate all that stuff. You know how it goes. So I hope you guys have a good night. I'm going to head out. I got to get some sleep. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for being here. Hopefully we'll get the wife on soon. She's been busy. Next week. I promise. I hope. See you guys.